Everyone talks about listening and responding to the Word of God. But have you ever wondered how to actually hear God's voice? After all, it's not like you can just text Him and get a direct response, can you? Today we're looking at an Old Testament event to show 5 points on how to recognize God's voice and make sure it's really His voice you are following. Stick around until the end, because the final point is going to tie everything together. There was once a great prophet of God named Elijah. You may have heard of him. He's the one who went off to heaven in a fiery chariot. We find him at this particular chapter running for his life from people who want to kill him. So Elijah hides in this cave and gets very depressed over his current situation. Elijah is at his lowest point. He prays to God and is so upset that he literally wants to die. It's really a sad scene. But God still had plans for Elijah and was not ready to send him that fiery Uber to heaven just yet. So God says, Elijah, get up and go stand on this mountain. I'm about to come by and talk to you. So Elijah gets ready to hear from God. But you know the first thing he finds? It's wind. But guess what? God was not in the wind. Then it gets worse. A huge earthquake shakes the very ground. But God was not in the earthquake either. Next, a roaring fire starts to burn bright. But you guessed it, God's not in the fire either. So where is He? Finally, there's a gentle whisper in the air. Elijah recognized it as the voice of God and went out to talk with the Lord. It's a pretty dramatic scene, isn't it? But what does it tell us about how we can recognize God's voice in our life today? First, it's usually not immediate. First there was wind, then an earthquake, then fire, and then God finally spoke. He doesn't always answer our prayers immediately. In fact, He rarely answers our prayers immediately. Now let's look at the 3 false alarms. First, there's wind so powerful it breaks rocks off the mountain. That must have been the loudest, ear-piercing wind ever. Noise, noise, noise. Everywhere we go, there's the noise of other people, the noise of terrible news stories, the noise of too many bad opinions on social media. We can lose focus on God's voice and let the noise of life drown Him out. Next, there's this earth-shattering earthquake. Sometimes we make the mistake of thinking God is telling us something in the big dramatic times of our life. But don't forget the enemy is also at work. That bad news, that family tragedy, that rejection letter, if we're not careful, we can lose our footing and lose sight of God in the process. But on the other hand, there's also massive good news that's misleading. Be careful that you don't mistake huge pieces of news as God's will, like the earthquake. Just because it shatters your world, that doesn't mean it provides any clarity or real answers, does it? Then there's the fire that burns bright, the passion, the emotions, the intensity. Do you think in the heat of the moment, something comes up and instead of praying about it or taking time to consider all the facts, you jump to a conclusion? Be extra careful with your fiery emotions so you are not burned. And you know the other thing about fires? Eventually, they burn out, the emotions cool, and then you'll see that God was never there. So where is He? In the gentle whisper, in the quiet stillness. You usually don't even recognize the way God is opening doors in your life until after you already go through them. He doesn't always show up, kick the door down with a sledgehammer and say, "All right, let's go." Notice that Elijah recognized God's voice in the stillness. He knew he wasn't in the wind or the earthquake or the fire. It still takes discernment. Hopefully these points help you make that discernment in your own life, so you can know for sure that the voice you're hearing is truly God. If this video helped you in any way, consider subscribing. Until next time, God bless you, everyone. So Elijah gets ready. But you know the first... Excuse me. It's not usually... Take two.